Tonight, D.C. Takeover. Washington residents push back as the number of National Guard troops grows in Washington. How long could the president's crackdown last, and what will it actually take to reduce crime in the nation's capital?
And Costco says no to mifepristone, why the retail giant is refusing to sell abortion medication. And could other pharmacies follow suit? Plus, shifting sands.
With higher waters, with storm waters and more rain, you're seeing the collision of how climate is changing and the impacts in a coastal community.
The warnings from experts as massive storms like Hurricane Erin accelerate coastal erosion in the U.S.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Locals in the nation's capital push back against President Trump's crime crackdown. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jenna Browder.
Good evening in Washington. I'm John Jessup. Well, likening the United States capital city to the southern border, the president says Washington is safe again.
It's been 10 days since he declared a crime emergency in the District of Columbia. In a Truth Social post, President Trump saying the city is now 100% secure, adding, quote, "We have just begun the process of revival. That process includes deploying National Guard troops to patrol the city, as well as federalizing the D.C. police force, a move the administration says is necessary to combat crime."
We've seen violent crime has taken the lives of far too many residents here in our nation's capital, and the president wants to make it safe again.
Now, most Washingtonians disagree with the move, though. According to a Washington Post Schar School poll, 65% don't think that the actions taken by the administration will make the city any more safe from violent crime, and 31% say crime is an extremely or very serious problem.
And joining us now is Donnell Harvin, former D.C. Chief of Homeland Security and Intelligence, as well as a faculty member at Georgetown University. Donnell, welcome back to Faith Nation. So you just heard Jenna mention the president calling this a revival of the city, and D.C. is 100% secure. President Trump also said today in a radio interview that he is going to go out on patrol with the National Guard tonight. Donnell, does his presence on D.C. streets help or hurt the administration's stated goal of making the city safer, especially after we've already seen protesters who were able to run law enforcement out of one D.C. neighborhood?
Yeah, I don't know if it helps or hurts. It certainly drives home the point that the president's making, which is he's getting hands-on, rolling up his sleeves and getting involved in what he calls to be a crime wave. I'd like to take a step back and say that D.C. has the lowest crime in the last 30 years. And so while there's been some debate on whether those numbers are true or not, I go to work in D.C. every day, and it's not the crime-riddled, hellscape that the administration makes it sound.
The Heritage Foundation put out numbers that mirror what the White House is claiming, that crime is down dramatically since the federal takeover. Carjackings down more than 80%, violent crime down 22%, and an 8% dip in all crimes. Donnell, what do you make of those numbers, and whether this crackdown is actually working in practical terms?
Yeah, I mean, I'm former law enforcement, so I'm not going to say that, less cops equals, safer streets. I've advocated for more police. The mayor of D.C. has advocated for more police. And so I would not push back on those numbers by any means. But I want to take a step back. When the government announced that they were going to go and do this crime crackdown in D.C., they were really focused on two specific areas. One was juvenile crime, which a lot of people find outlandish, but some of the incidents are well documented. And the other one's homelessness. Having more people with guns, having military out there in the streets of our nation's capital does not decrease those social problems. And so if you're going to go out there and surge law enforcement, if you're going to show this show of force and stop violent crimes and cut down on homelessness, you really need to do that in tandem with social programs, which is not being done right now, and really get to the heart of why those problems are what they are in D.C.
Donnell, do we know where some of these homeless people are being taken?
I have no idea. It's unclear. Homelessness is not a crime. And I want to also point out that some of these homeless people, a large percentage, anywhere from 15 to 20%, are veterans. who the government, through multiple administrations, this is a nonpartisan issue, we all know this, have failed. And so, you know, our military, they suffer all types of PTSD, drug abuse and substance abuse issues and mental health issues that are not being addressed, and often that ends up in homelessness.
You know, as someone who is charged with defending and protecting the nation's capital, you just talked about your background in law enforcement. Where does your mind go with the federal takeover? Is it chain of command? Is it readiness and the expertise of the Guard to police D.C. or something else?
Well, you know, fortunately for DC, I'm talking about integration now, you're talking about readiness. DC has a long history. The agencies I work for have a long history of integration law enforcement with the local and federal, because we do that all the time for national security special events like the inauguration, or for the you know, papal visit, things of that nature. So we're used to working collaboratively with law enforcement from the federal side. What they're not used to doing is taking orders directly from them. And so that's going to be worked out really on the ground between the DC chief and the administration's you know, advisory person that they've implemented there. Once again, more law enforcement's great, but no one wants to live in a police state, right? And so I want everyone to kind of think about, close your eyes and think about, how would you feel if you went to your local farmer's market or your main street and you saw law enforcement all over the place doing some of the things we've seen them do in DC.
Okay, we will leave it there. Danelle Harvin, thank you very much.
Thanks, Danelle. Well, Russia launched one of its biggest air attacks of the year on Ukraine overnight, firing nearly 600 drones and 40 ballistic missiles, leaving at least one person dead. The Russian strikes keep ramping up despite President Trump's recent push to reach a peace settlement between the countries. The Ukrainian Air Force says this morning's attacks mostly targeted western parts of the country, where military aid from its western allies is believed to be delivered and stored. The attack hit an American-backed factory tied to Silicon Valley. Since White House peace talks, Russia has fired nearly 1,000 long-range drones and missiles at Ukraine. Well, in the Middle East, Israeli troops are pushing deeper into Gaza City, marking the start of a major offensive. Aid groups warn it could result in massive deaths and destruction. Israel says its mission is clear: to crush Hamas and free the hostages. In Gaza City, dozens of Palestinians protested the move.
We want them to stop the war on Gaza. We don't want to be displaced. 22 months is enough. Enough death, enough destruction.
In Israel, some families of the October 7th hostages are calling for a ceasefire, concerned that a broader offensive will endanger the 50 Israelis still held captive by Hamas.
Time is running out. The hostages cannot survive much longer in the hand of these brutal captors. We cannot support more fighting.
So far, the ceasefire talks have remained stalled.
Well, closer to home, international superpowers are quietly moving into the island region south of Florida, raising concerns about how the move could affect U.S. national security. Defense experts, though, do believe America has a strong advantage in the form of Puerto Rico. National security correspondent Caitlin Burke traveled there and found how a little investment could go a long way against our rivals.
Best known for its culture and beaches, Puerto Rico is also considered by many to be a strategic stronghold, with the potential to give the U.S. a critical edge as China and Russia expand their presence in the Caribbean.
Puerto Rico, being geostrategically located, provides us as part of the nation to become a buy-in to this, our national security, and to ensure that our national assets can be positioned here for deterrence in the region.
Over the last decade, the two superpowers have focused in on the Caribbean basin, Beijing investing billions on trade and infrastructure deals, while also establishing a spy base in Cuba. Meanwhile, Moscow has taken a more threatening approach with weapons sales, training, and joint military exercises.
As recently as last November, October-November, major Russian joint exercises were conducted in the Caribbean Sea, where, interesting enough, a nuclear submarine surfaced, and it was carrying hypersonic nuclear weapons.
Secretary of Puerto Rico's Department of Public Safety, Art Garfer, who also serves as Homeland Security Advisor, tells CBN News adversaries are getting too close for comfort. That whole southern area of the Caribbean Sea is now controlled or influenced
by not necessarily friendly nations to the United States.
Andres Martinez Fernandez, a senior policy analyst with the Heritage Foundation, points out China could now have the ability to disrupt critical trade routes there.
If there's a disruption in the ability to move goods and even military equipment and warships across them, it can have very significant consequences for the United States. And as kind of the risk of war over Taiwan increases, I think the United States is looking very seriously at what that means for Chinese presence and projection powers within our hemisphere.
Secretary Garfer believes it's time the U.S. took advantage of the geostrategic positioning of Puerto Rico.
We got 2 deep sea ports, one on the eastern side, one on the southern side. We do have 2 of the longest runways in the Caribbean basin that were used for military purposes as well. So these sites can be used once again, even if at a limited capacity, to forward project from here over the horizon as a means to deter Russian and Chinese overt aggression into the region.
Garfer sees it as simply a matter of investing in and building out those facilities, a move that would benefit both national and domestic security.
Drug trafficking organizations, violent extremist organizations, transnational criminal organizations continue to shift and look for LOCs, right? Because the southern border now on California all the way to Texas has been shut down. They have to see where they need to shift and move in order to keep their business going. So Puerto Rico could fall into that vector or that area of approach into the United States.
As the Heritage Foundation prepares a new report on Puerto Rico, Martinez Fernandez tells CBN News there's an opportunity to restore the territory to the national security asset it once was.
Puerto Rico can play a much bigger role, and I think there's an important opportunity with new leadership on the island and the second Trump administration to really seize on that.
With China and Russia making moves in America's backyard, experts say it's time to invest in Puerto Rico, turning its strategic location into the defense hub the U.S. needs in the Caribbean. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, San Juan.
Thank you, Caitlin. And still to come, abortion in America. Which major retailer is refusing to stock the so-called abortion pill? Faith Nation returns right after this. Welcome back. Costco is taking a stand not to stock the so-called abortion pill in its more than 500 pharmacies nationwide. The wholesale retailer says there is a lack of demand for mifepristone from its members. But the move comes on the heels of a pressure campaign from faith-based and conservative organizations. These groups hail the decision as a win for life. And for more on this, let's bring in Hannah Lape, Legislative and Executive Assistant at Concerned Women for America. Hannah, welcome. So Concerned Women for America is a very pro-life organization. What's your reaction to this announcement from Costco?
Yes, Concerned Women for America is absolutely thrilled with this decision from Costco. We know that this is a huge win for life and a step in the right direction. All of our grassroots women across the nation are just so excited to see Costco taking this move. Many of them are Costco customers themselves. And among the pro-life movement, of which we are a part of here in DC and across the nation, we know that cracking down on the abortion pill is a top-line priority for the pro-life movement. And as we've seen, brick and mortar abortion clinics across the country closing in record numbers after the passage of the big, beautiful bill, we just can't forget about the abortion pill. We know that is our next target because the abortion pill is responsible for over 60% of abortions. So we are just thrilled to see this step in the next right direction.
As you just said, Hannah, this pill, mifepristone, accounts for about 2/3 of all abortions in America. The stand that Costco made isn't just one out of principle. It actually has financial implications. So do you think the decision from Costco will encourage other retailers and other pharmacies maybe to follow suit?
Yeah, absolutely. We would certainly hope so. I mean, we're talking 500 plus pharmacies. This had to be a big decision in this corporate boardroom. And I think we really are seeing a move towards common sense, truth, honesty, and medical integrity among businesses. Americans want to shop their values, and we've seen that across the past couple of years, and especially this year. So Costco really is taking a stand with that common sense. They said they see a lack of demand among their members, their shareholders, and their patients, and we're seeing that as a reflection of consumer interest and shareholder preferences.
Yeah.
And we know that the pro-abortion camp says that Mifeprex is safer than Tylenol, but Costco right now is taking a stand and saying no, that is actually factually incorrect, and we will stand up for our customers' safety, both unborn customers and their women customers who are coming into their stores, and say we will not be dispensing these harmful pills.
Well, that takes me to my next question. Congress is now taking a hard look at these drugs, Hannah, and asking the Department of Justice to investigate whether drug manufacturers misrepresented the abortion pill's safety and efficacy. 3 Republican senators are making their request, citing a recent study by the Ethics and Public Policy Center that shows that women who take mifepristone suffer complications 22 times greater than what's shown on the FDA's approved drug label. Your thoughts on that, Hannah, and if you think this request and potential investigation will go anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. I am so optimistic about this request, and we are so thankful to Senators Daines, Blackburn, and Banks for sending this bold letter to the DOJ last week and urging the administration to investigate the public health failure that the abortion pill has caused. And it truly is just that. I mean, 1 in 10 women experiencing life-threatening complications after taking the pill is absolutely heartbreaking. This is not pro-women, it's not pro-choice, it is simply dangerous. The FDA and the DOJ absolutely have the ability to review Mifeprex and to revoke CVS, Walgreens, and any other ability to dispense these drugs, and they can reclassify this drug. And I think, as I've said, we've seen common sense prevail in this administration. We have 3.5 more years to do in this administration to gain ground in correcting biological error and gaining common sense. And we really do think that this administration has an ear to the ground on our concerns, concerns for life, concerns for women, and for biological truth.
Hannah, we have to leave it there. Hannah Lape with Concerned Women for America. Thank you, Hannah.
Well, some sad news to report. Dr. James Dobson, family advocate and one of the most influential Christian leaders of the last 50 years, has died at the age of 89. Dobson wrote more than 70 books on parenting and family. He also founded Focus on the Family and later the Dr. James Dobson Family Institute, as well as the daily radio program Family Talk. He is survived by his wife of 64 years, Shirley, their children Danae and Ryan, and 2 grandchildren.
Coming up, coastal erosion threatening America's shorelines. What's causing the issue and what it means for our beaches? Well, Hurricane Erin continues its trek up the eastern seaboard, the mammoth storm lashing North Carolina with high winds, massive waves, and coastal flooding. Forecasters say Erin will eventually turn and make its way deeper into the Atlantic, but not before bringing dangerous conditions to beaches along the East Coast. Officials from Virginia to New England warning residents of potentially deadly rip currents, high winds, coastal erosion, and heavy rains.
Well, coastal erosion is common on North Carolina's Outer Banks. However, scientists say it's accelerating, with some areas losing more than 10 feet of shoreline each year.
As CBN's Brody Carter reports, that's creating a risk for coastal communities.
Homes like these here along the Outer Banks in North Carolina are just one strong storm from being swept into the ocean. Now, as peak storm season approaches, researchers tell me sands are shifting and erosion could create big problems along the entire Atlantic coast.
With the erosion that's taking place, with higher waters, with storm waters and more rain, you're seeing the collision of how climate is changing and the impacts in a coastal community.
The Outer Banks is an iconic string of barrier islands known for their beauty and seclusion. As seasons change, the Atlantic can churn with greater energy, with winds often reaching hurricane strength. East Carolina University's Reed Corbett, executive director of the Coastal Studies Institute, says that change is cutting into parts of the coastline at alarming rates.
You know, the average erosion rate for the ocean front isn't that high. It's 2, 3, 5 feet per year. But there's these hot spots that are 10, 15 feet per year.
The U.S. is home to the world's most barrier islands, with more than 400 scattered among 30 coastal states. Along the mid-Atlantic coastline, federal records show more than 2/3 of the area eroding.
First of all, there hasn't been any beach at all to lay on.
Sarah Beth Rice and her family regularly vacations here, but with the significant retreating of the sand, she sees changes that are hard to ignore.
This is our 4th year vacationing on this island, and
it's never been this great.
Not sure that we're gonna come back again next year. Unfortunately, we might look a little bit further up just to see.
In just 2024, the ocean washed away at least 7 houses along the Outer Banks, leaving behind debris and pollution. The latest North Carolina Science Panel report projects sea level to rise at least a foot here by 2050, with high tide flooding expected to happen multiple times a year. For the majority of coastal homes with septic tanks, that rise also means groundwater will push waste back up, creating a mess for which few are prepared.
But it's a reality. We are not going to be able to maintain the shoreline in every location. So that's one thing. Another thing is, as sea level rises, groundwater tables are going to rise. And this is sort of a hidden problem, right? Out of sight, out of mind. And that really is dealing with wastewater. It's not just the water table. At some point, you won't be able to flush your toilet. That is a real issue.
Millions are spent each year up and down the coast for replenishing sand and building dunes to buy time. It's expensive and unfortunately only temporary. Amid all of this, federal funding has been cut for key field research points like the Coastal Institute. For communities built on shifting sand, the question for residents is not whether the shoreline will change, it's how can they learn to live with it.
I'm going to get asked about predictions for the future. Are the Outer Banks going to disappear? Sure, one day. Is it going to be in my lifetime, my kids' lifetime? No. Is it going to change? Certainly.
Reporting in the Outer Banks, North Carolina, Brody Carter, CBN News.
Well, over the last few years, CBN News has reported on a revolution sweeping college campuses across America.
Yeah, and now a movie premiere documenting the movement is getting a boost from a renowned gospel musician. 3-time Grammy Award winner Tasha Cobbs Leonard will perform at the premiere of CBN's newest film, The Revival Generation. The event will be held at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. this coming Wednesday. The red carpet premiere will also feature a time of worship and testimony. The film will be available after the premiere on DVD and on streaming on the CBN Family app. It's going to be amazing. I just got my tickets this morning.
You reserved your tickets?
Yeah. How about you?
I reserved my tickets yesterday. Looking forward to it. I think
it's going to be a great event.
Yep.
All right. That's going to do it for Faith Nation.
Have a great night. We hope to see you right back again here next week, not tomorrow.